and welcome to GNY Sports, brand new sports show featuring sports and me, Mike Brindisi. Kind of an arm of Good News York. It is GNY Sports, something we're starting here once, twice a week. You can expect interviews, co-hosts, all sorts of great stuff, games. But for today, we're gonna kick it old school. It's just me, the microphone, and you. There's always a lot to talk about across the board. But I want to get right to the Major League Baseball because something flew across my screen yesterday that made me very excited. And that is that the MLB is adding another rule change. They're implementing an automated ball and strike challenge system for the 26th season. Now, it says it's going to allow players to challenge strike zone. My first reaction is, thank God. We finally have the technology in sports, and this is for all sports. It's about time we get this shit right because I'm so sick of we have these review systems in all sports and these replays, and then they talk about it. And at the end of the day, a lot of times they still get it wrong. So what are we doing? So many games have been decided on penalties or no calls in football. And in baseball, how many times have games been decided on a wrong ball or a strike? And I know that's the human element, and I don't want to lose that. So, I love the fact that we're going to use the technology that we have, but it also counteracts the whole mission of making games shorter, especially if players can challenge. Because I feel like the same way you can call holding on every damn football play, you can probably call a wrong ball or strike on every play. So I'm curious to see the details on that. But what I do appreciate is that Major League Baseball is trying. They've been trying. The NFL for me is king it's king in general. Viewership, merchandising, branding globally. But what I'm talking about is, Roger Goodell's done a good job of not only kind of spreading the NFL worldwide, but they're always at the players' meetings each year. Or not the players' meeting, I'm sorry, the meetings, the executives' meetings every year. They're always updating things. They're trying new things. They're taking it away. They're modifying it. And for a while, I thought baseball was a bit stale. But listen, they've implemented, if you remember in 23, the pitching clock, for better or worse, to try to speed up the game. They've put restrictions on defensive shifts, larger bases. So they really are trying. But the thing I struggle with here is that they're really up against it. And I'm not sure how you can fix the real problem, which is our, as a society, our attention spans. That's really what's going on. I mean, if baseball changes anything else, you're going to start compromising the sport overall. I'm sure there are still going to be great ideas that come along, and they will make those changes. But the problem is when baseball started as America's pastime, there was nothing else going on. We were light years away from social media and what we're dealing with now. But even then, live baseball especially was a way for you to escape. It was a way for you to go do something fun. And now, not only is NFL king, but as I said, our attention spans are I mean, it's ridiculous. Everything is shorts and reels, and I don't know how you compete with that. The pitch clock, okay, yeah, it's definitely sped up the game a bit, but at the end of the day, what more can we speed up without compromising the baseball as a whole? So, I like the ball strike challenge as long as it doesn't extend the game, because then you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. But, I always love seeing, every now and then on the Yes Network, I'm a Yankees fan, I'll watch. I'll see, if it's a rain delay, they'll play a clip of an old baseball game. And it's just wild to me to see because, you forget. People are in the stands watching and talking and keeping score because there were no cell phones. So I just think it was different times. But I do appreciate that they are going to introduce this. I am curious to see at what capacity because we need to get it right. Like in football, I wish, Jesus Christ, how many times this whole new system that the NFL kind of introduced where they're trying to feed you a bunch of bullshit, which is check out our new digital measuring system. That's not what's going on, okay? All they're showing you is a digital version of where the human referee spotted it. No, the chain gang's not coming out, right? But they're just showing you where it's been spotted. They're not spotting the ball based on the digital chip in the ball or whatever they're using. And to be fair, Roger Goodell's gone on record in saying there is no technology isn't accurate enough for them to implement a system where they fully use the ball with a chip in it to measure because of the shape of the ball, and you've got to kind of split feet and inches, and it's just not there. And if they're going to do it, they want to get it right. So I respect that. But my God, how many games are going to be blown, especially in football? Just the other day, was it the Rams game? Or not the Rams game, the Lions, Eagle? I don't know. Either way, one of the line judges on the goal line gave one of these, and the other gave one of these, that they were stopped. One said it was a touchdown. It reminded me of that famous play when they had the backup refs in during the strike. But I just think when we have the technology, let's implement it. But don't let it fool you. That new measuring system in football is not. It's not measuring anything. It's just showing you where they measured. But back to the MLB, I do think I think it's a great move as long as they do it to where it's not going to extend the game. Also, I've had this thought, and I'm sure this is going to be a lot of controversy. But look, you and I both know Major League Baseball is way too long. Way too long. It is 162 games. You want to talk about attention span, right? We're talking about how can, they're welcoming this challenging system, but I don't want it to extend the game. You know what also might help? Cutting down 42 games. That's right. I purposely said 42 games. Season should be, I did a little bit of research. The season should be 120 games. Why do I say 120? That's 42 games less, and that is subtracting 6 weeks from the season. So it would end in late August, early September. You know what that lines up with? Football. Because you and I both know, and I'm not saying every Major League Baseball fan is a football fan, but the majority is. And you know that once football starts, yeah, we're still watching our team, but we're locked in. It's football season, baby. You want to talk about... Think about the abundance of injuries with pitchers in the last decade or more, right? How many Tommy John surgeries are we going to see? It's not normal for a human being to throw that fast for that long without any long-term repercussions or even short-term. How many guys, look at Garrett Cole this season for the Yankees. The list goes on. How many guys are out? And I'm not saying that these injuries are because there's 162 games, but my God, man. I think it's good for the players. I think it's good for the sport overall. And I think it's just good for the fans. And I know what you're thinking. One of the things I thought of, and I don't have the answer. Okay, but now we're paying players more. So where are these organizations going to make up revenue if they're going to cut 42 games? Well, first of all, I think viewership's going to go up. Because each game is going to mean more. That's why college football is so great. Every game means something. And I think this would be a step towards every game meaning something. So I would be remiss if I didn't talk about Syracuse football right now. Yes, I'm caught up in it because we are in New York and we're in Syracuse, of all places. But man, the energy around town, just like when I go to Buffalo, with the Bills and the way they've been playing, it feels different. It's been different since Fran Brown came along. You felt it a little bit when Marone came along, right? And there was a little bit of a change there. They were winning some games. But this just feels different. And Fran Brown is a huge part of that. I grew up in the 80s and 90s when I think Syracuse was good back. Yeah, it was like the McNabb days and then way back the Jim Brown days. But I never got to experience really enjoying college football because I'm a Syracuse fan. And they were not competitive for a very long time. As I said, Marone came along. We had a little flash there. But with Fran Brown, my. That Clemson win was, blown away. But you feel the energy in the city because, all good organizations and good sports teams are intertwined with the community. And I think the reason we feel that buzz is because Fran Brown said something in his post-game interview. Not only did they beat Clemson, which is insane to me, but they Fran Brown thanked the city of Syracuse and its citizens and the people that live here. And that was such a classy move, but it was also genuine. You could tell this guy meant it. And when your team is not only playing well, but when you're intertwined with the city, there is nothing better. And Fran Brown is bringing that. I know there's some controversy. You know, remember he made his team run in front of the fans, kind of an old school move. Well, it worked because next week they beat Clemson after almost losing to UConn. There's the scandal where they got fined. I got it right here, and I'm laughing. You'll know why I'm laughing in a second. The ACC fined Syracuse $25,000 and publicly reprimanded the school Monday for faking injuries in the Clemson game, calling its actions unethical and contrary to the spirit of the rules. In a statement, the ACC said Syracuse violated an NCAA rule established this year aimed at stopping teams from faking injuries to slow down play. So with 9:25 left in the fourth quarter, there was a clear attempt to gain an unmerited advantage by stopping the game in order to secure an injury timeout. The quarterback from Clemson talked about it, and I'll admit, I was wrong. I was like, this guy's just making excuses because they sucked. But the quarterback basically said, we were rolling, we had rhythm, and then Syracuse faked an injury. Turns out they did. They must have, because they've been fined. I'm not against that, because if there is one thing I hate in sports, it's flopping. And you see it in football now with Mahomes. Even my boy Allen sometimes embellishes. But there is no other sport that has championed flopping and faking injuries more than soccer, or as you aficionados call it, football. And it is probably the reason I don't watch soccer. Now, listen, I appreciate the sport of soccer, and when the World Cup comes on, it gives me a reason to cheer because I'm cheering for my country. But I'm not going to just watch soccer. For one, I hate the flopping, and two, I don't really have a team. And just like college football, for a long time, I couldn't root. I didn't. All my friends watch college football. I didn't, because I was a Syracuse fan and they were barely competing, and it was boring to watch. And I'm not going to just pick an Ohio State or a Michigan or an Alabama, because I have to have the same way I love the Bills. I've got to feel it. I've got to love that team. I've got to have some sort of connection. I was born in Syracuse. I love Syracuse. So it is so great to finally have a team in the Syracuse Orange headed up by the man, Fran Brown, who's not only winning games, they're winning big games, Clemson, and he's thanking the city and including the city in it. And it feels great around here. But back to the flopping. All right, fine. Supposedly Syracuse, allegedly, they faked injuries. But again, let me go to the video screen to show you why soccer has championed flopping more than any other sport. If you don't believe me, here's a little bit of a compilation I'll play for you. This is why I hate soccer. For this. Ooh. Yeah, that one hurts. Right to the face. Oh, whoa! Powerful pull there. It kind of looked real, I'll be honest. It was a good flop. Oh, it's his ankle. Is it just this one guy? I should probably look at these things ahead of time. Okay, here we go. Ready? Oh, the delay. Look, if you're going to flop, make it believable. It's ridiculous. That was actually a good dance move. Oh, this guy's having a heart attack. It's really taking it to the next level. These guys are great actors. I'll give them that. They're great athletes, too. Look at this. This is a good one. Oh, Ronaldo. Oh, he's covered. So he got hit in the neck, and then he covered his face. So if you're going to flop, you got to get the right. Oh, yeah. The old sniper. He got hit in the leg and then covered his face. So do you see what I mean? Not only is the flopping exaggerated and horrible, he's a dead fish. But you're not even, if you're going to do it right. Grab the right body part. Yeah. So, I don't know. Syracuse, you flopped, but at least it's not as bad as that. Speaking of bad, what the fuck is going on? Yeah, you can leave that up, Danny. I'm going to play that in a second. What is going on in the NFL with kickers? The strangest thing is happening. I'm genuinely, for the sake of this show, trying to figure out at least the start of an answer on why there are so many missed field goals and so many blocked field goals, specifically this past week. Because at the same time, we're seeing kickers now can boot 50-yarders like it's nothing, like it's a chip shot. You know, anything past 40 yards back in the day was like, whoa. And when I say back in the day, I mean not that long ago. You know, this generation of kickers, they've got the leg to boot it. But the accuracy, I don't know what's going on. And just to prove my point real quick, this is just in week 3 of the NFL. This past week, we had 4 blocked field goals and 18 missed. 17 on Sunday. Check this video out. Here's a compilation of the 4 block kicks.
Joshua Carty has it.
This one's huge.
It's flipped forward, 44.
Because it was the first one. Here's the second one of the game.
Joshua Carty has it blocked again.
And then the big man runs it back.
Davis. The big man looks for the icing on one big cake. 3-yard attempt.
Meanwhile,
McLaughlin has been perfect today.
Jets.
Field goal attempt is blocked.
That's usually happening to the Jets. If they block, they still lost the game, of course.
Lead.
We had to Green Bay. Actually, we had to Cleveland.
Hash, Daniel Whelan the hold. The kick is blocked. It is blocked.
Guys, this isn't a compilation of missed or blocked field goals from this season. It's from one week at the same time.
Yards away, and his kick is blocked.
All right, so if some of you are thinking, whoop-de shit, they block kicks, it happens. Not at this volume. The missed field goals I didn't show you. I'm more mind-boggled by the missed field goals because, again, the only thing I can think of is that we've put such an emphasis on kickers learning how to kick far. Maybe they're not putting an emphasis enough on accuracy, but if they weren't accurate, they wouldn't be in the NFL. So I don't know. But as far as the blocked field goals, my only answer to that is just better coaching and more emphasis on special teams. And I'll credit Goodell and the NFL as a whole with this because all the changes, which I talked about earlier, all the changes that they've made and updates to the game, specifically on the kickoff, right? And some of the other tweaks they've made with special teams, I think it's trickled down to where now that there's more value on the kick itself, there's more value on special teams as a whole. First of all, it's great for special teams because special teams is an aspect of football that doesn't get enough credit. You know, I'm a Bills fan. Steve Tasker, one of the greatest special teams players of all time. That shit matters, especially now with how much the kickoff has been or has evolved to where it can make or break a game within seconds. They've returned it to the most exciting play in football. They've done a great job with that. And so, you know, I could sit here all day and blame the kickers for the blocked field goals. I'll blame them for the missed field goals. But to blame them for the blocks, that's more of a tip of the cap to the special teams on these NFL teams and the coaching. So I love that. Another thing that is mind-boggling to me, again, that I don't have an answer for in the NFL is the amount of injuries. I know. Just like with the kicking, you're probably saying, Mike, what the fuck are you talking about? This is a full contact, violent sport. There's injuries all the time. No shit. But if you've watched the NFL, you've noticed specifically over the last few seasons how many injuries there have been. And I'm not just talking injuries in general. I'm talking about specifically ACL, MCL, PC, the knee. That's pretty clear. Knees are a big part of football. So, you know, those are injuries that are very common in football. I do think they're happening more, but specifically the Achilles injuries, you know, with Rodgers and Najee Harris just went out this past week. I feel like every week we're seeing an Achilles tear. And again, I looked it up. I don't have an answer as to why this is happening, but the only thing I can point to is there's the obvious things, right? First of all, it's a dangerous sport. Second of all, these athletes are bigger, faster, and stronger than they have ever been. the training facilities, the exercise equipment, the programs that they are a part of have all evolved. So there is that. That's the obvious stuff. Turf has more injuries than grass fields. So that's the obvious stuff. But when I look at a team like the 49ers, dude, this is the thing. How could I sit here and blame a coach or a team or an organization for injuries? Injuries are part of the game. But when you take a team and you put them under the microscope, like the 49ers specifically, every year for the last handful of years, every season I feel like we're saying, man, the 49ers are great, but they just can't stay healthy. Can't stay healthy is an understatement. I mean, they had so many guys out last year. The whole team was decimated, and it's already happening in week 3. The 49ers are already decimated. So then I start thinking, well, if I was a fan, I'd be pissed. Who do you blame? Who can you blame for injuries? The only thing I can think of, and I ask you, comment, write me, can you blame injuries on the coach? Because at some point, when you start looking that there are more injuries around the league, that's fine. But when you notice the 49ers specifically have more injuries than anybody else, the Detroit Lions were banged up too on defense last year, like 15 injuries. But specifically, Kyle Shanahan, how can I blame him? But at the same time, if your team is getting more injuries than any other team every season, you got to start looking at the training staff. But more importantly, you've got to start looking at the offseason program that Kyle Shanahan's implementing and even the in-season program between weeks. Now, I'm not calling for anybody's job. I don't believe in that. It's someone's livelihood. And Kyle Shanahan's a great coach. He's one of the best, if not the best, offensive minds in football. But at some point, you've got to point the finger somewhere, and somebody's got to do something to counteract these injuries. Again, there's turf. There's players that are bigger and stronger. Okay, we can make the game safer with more rules. That's fine. But what is Kyle Shanahan doing that's causing all these injuries, or what is he not doing? Because when you're the head coach, I'm sorry, the wind blows hard at the top of the flagpole. Someone's got to be at least looked at. He might not be to blame, but someone's got to take a look and just say, what are they doing in the offseason? What are they doing in between weeks? Why are there more and more 49ers being injured? And maybe the answer is it's just happenstance, right? It just happens. But I think it's worth taking a look at, because you got to remember something. If your star players aren't on the field, you're not competing. And if you're not competing, you're not filling the seats, right? So it's a trickle-down effect. So it does affect the game and the sport overall. I hate injuries. I think injuries are the worst thing for the NFL, but they're unavoidable. And I think they're the worst because how many times have we seen? Look at the Bengals. Joe Burrow. I mean, that's a different story, because it's not Joe Burrow's fault that they're giving up so many points a game and they look completely lost in general without Joe Burrow. It's not Joe Burrow's fault that they just decide to give a mother load to 3 guys on offense and almost allow their best defensive player to walk. But that's a different story. But my point is, those fans, their season is essentially over. Not mathematically, but when you watch them. And it's because Joe Burrow's not on the field. The bigger issue is they need to have a better team overall, besides just Joe Burrow. But, how many seasons have been ruined because of an injury? Look at the Jets last year or 2 years ago. What was it? When Rodgers tore his Achilles. It was over. So can we avoid injuries? Of course not. Not in a sport like football. But there are ways to counteract the volume of injuries, and that is taking a look at sample sizes. And I think the 49ers are a good place to start. So that's all I got to say about that. Moving on to the NFL before we wrap up, a couple things. Got some great games coming up this week. The Thursday night football game is an absolute dumpster fire. It is the Jets versus the Dolphins. So have fun with that. But I'm looking forward to the Chiefs-Ravens game because it blows my mind that one of those teams is going to be 1-3. And, the Giants really had the Chiefs on the ropes. They were in their house, which actually doesn't mean much because the Giants have a terrible record at home over the last handful of years. But they had a team who was 0-2 They were 0-2. They're at home. And I'm sorry, the Chiefs don't look pedestrian just this year. I think the Chiefs look about as pedestrian as they did last year. And I know what you're thinking. What are you talking about? They were in the Super Bowl. I understand that. And I wish I had the stat pulled up. I guess I could look it up. But last year, if you remember, the Chiefs games were decided within like the last 2 minutes. Like 8-9 games of theirs were decided in last second, no calls or penalties or some freak blocked kick, something like that. Dropped pass. I think it was the Raiders, which is fine. That's football. A W is a W. No one's going to look back and go, well, they won, but that guy dropped the ball on the other team. Nobody cares. A W is a W. But what I'm saying is, the Chiefs, the reason they were able to get to the Super Bowl is because in all of those 8 or 9 games that were settled by one score within the last 2 minutes was because, well, chance, but also there's no better clutch player in the NFL right now in the last 2 minutes than Patrick Mahomes. He could play like complete shit through the entire game, but if there's 2 minutes left and they have a chance to take the lead or tie, he's going to pull it off. That's what he does best. But pedestrian. Mahomes looks pedestrian. I'm not saying anything out of school here. The offense looks putrid. And yes, I understand suspensions, injuries. Figure it out. And the Giants had a chance to win that game, and they didn't. They didn't for many reasons. One, I don't understand. I feel like every year the Giants have drafted an offensive lineman, like a good offensive lineman, and their line sucks every year. Now, Russell Wilson being a mobile quarterback, sure, that's great, except he's not as mobile as he used to be. And that line blew it for them. And I point to the offensive line. Look, they lost the game for many reasons, right? I mean, look, it was 22-9 with 3 minutes left in the fourth. It's hard to point the finger at one player or one thing, but it's pretty clear that a lot of it fell on the offensive line and Russell Wilson. And yeah, Russell Wilson throws one of the best deep balls I've ever seen as far as accuracy in his heyday. But my God, and he threw for 400 yards the week before. But in the NFL, things change very fast week to week. And if you watch this video right here, go ahead and play it, Danny. I'm going to say something a little controversial here, and I'm going to have you stop it in a second if you're ready. So take a look. This is when they went 4 and out. So stop right here, okay? If you look right here, the pocket is completely collapsed, and it's 2 guys on Russell Wilson. That's a problem to begin with. Go ahead and play it, Danny. Watch what happens when they get in his face. Okay, you kind of saw it there at the end. I mean, they just threw his hands up in the air and swallowed him whole. Watch again here. And now he's taken off. All right. Some vintage rust there. Chug-a-lug-a-lug. Here's their 3rd and goal attempt in the red zone. Pocket collapses. Throws it to section 300. Okay. And now here's their 4th chance in a row. Pocket collapses. He steps up, which is great. Throws it to the field goal post. Now, why am I showing you that other than the obvious that was a horrible red zone visit? Look at the fans. Look at the fans. I mean, that's how bad it was. The fans weren't even booing. It was just silent like it was Wimbledon. But the reason I'm showing you that, and I feel like I'm qualified to say this without too much repercussion, one of the reasons I liked Russell Wilson when he first came in the league is because he's short. I'm a short guy. I'm 5'6", okay? He defied all odds. People said his hands were too small. He was too short, and I think, what was it? I think he went to Wisconsin and then he transferred. Doesn't matter where he came from. The point is, and then he goes to Seattle under a phenomenal coach in Pete Carroll, which we'll get to in a second. And he wins, he wins a Super Bowl, goes to multiple Super Bowls. The reason he was able to be successful was great coaching and a great line. He doesn't have that in New York. And the reason I showed you that video is because if you look, when that pocket collapses, the reason why he was throwing moonshots is because he's not tall enough to see over those defenders and find somebody in the end zone. It's a mixture of age. He's an old vet now. It's a mixture of not a very good offensive line, and it's his height and not being able to see over those defenders to make those throws in the end zone. So what's the answer to that? Jackson Dart. And I had planned on talking about the controversy about starting Dart or not. Well, it's been announced as of last night, Jackson Dart is going to start. And that doesn't surprise me. When I did the football special here on Good News York a while back, right before the first kickoff on Thursday night, the first week, I had said that that I thought Jackson Dart was going to come in. I think I actually said it wrong. I said it was going to be against the Saints or Carolina, and it's the other team. Anyway, the Giants have probably I think they do actually have the toughest schedule in football. So I think it was smart for Dable and Shane to start Russell Wilson. At least the idea of it was smart, right? Because here's the thing. Guys like RG3 and Andrew Luck, who came into the league years ago and then immediately won and went to the playoffs, that is not normal for rookie quarterbacks, and guys like Mahomes, right? Those are freak incidents that happen, freak players that were able to come in. And a lot of that has to do with college coaching and systems, especially in the SEC. There are so many college football systems that are pro ready. So that's another part of it. But at the same time, those are freak things. I still believe in it's okay for guys to come in and learn behind a veteran QB. And Brian Dable and Joe Shane set that up perfectly. They got Jameis Winston and they got Russell Wilson. I thought it was a good move, but everybody knew it was a means to get to Jackson Dart, whether that was this season or next season. Here's the problem with that. Jackson Dart wasn't learning shit behind Russ. Maybe week 2. I mean, he had a good game, but what's Jackson Dart going to learn? Certainly not red zone discipline or success. And then here's the other part of it. Joe Shane and Brian Dable are on their last legs as far as on the hot seat. Now, the Giants are a patient organization. They're not an organization that they're going to fire people right away with massive turnover like the Jets or the Bears, teams like that. The Giants, the Mara family, they know how to take their time. They did it with Tom Coughlin. I thought Tom Coughlin never should have left. I love Tom Coughlin. But you got to remember, they tried to make it work with Daniel Jones, and they couldn't. But here's where they were free, where they were safe. Daniel Jones wasn't Dable or Shane's pick. Okay? Well, guess who is? Jackson Dart. That's their first pick as the GM and the head coach. That's their first quarterback pick in the draft. Tommy Cutlets ain't going to cut it, Tommy DeVito. But so now you've got your guy. So here's the conundrum they were in. Well, if we start this rookie before he's ready, we're definitely screwed. We're definitely fired. But if we start Russ and Russ fails, we're in bigger trouble because we're just going to get canned altogether. We're going to get canned because why did we bring Russ over and have him flop this bad? There is no question they have to start Jackson Dart this week, and that's what they're doing. I saw Jackson Dart. I went to the preseason game, albeit it was preseason. I went and saw Jackson Dart play for the Giants against the Bills in preseason. And if you've watched football long enough, you know when you see something special. And Jackson Dart's special. I don't know if he's going to be a future Hall of Famer or future Pro Bowler or what, but I think he's going to be a quarterback that can definitely win some games in this league. And dare I say, I think he will be the franchise quarterback for the Giants, at least for the next couple seasons. So I'm curious to see how this pans out. I think it was the right move by Dable and Shane, but I also think it was the only move by Dable and Shane after that disastrous last week. And on top of it, I don't think you're throwing in Jackson Dart too early because, one, as I said, he looks ready to go. And two, what's he learning behind Russ? But that gets me onto the last thing here, which is coaching. Coaching is something that matters so much in the NFL, more than people give credit for. I mean, everybody knows that in sports, it's a trickle-down, right? I hope people know. Good ownership brings a good general manager. A good general manager hires a good coach. A good coach coaches players up to their full potential, brings free agents, drafts well. It's a trickle-down effect. But I'm talking specifically about, and I'll stay on the Giants for a second, what Daniel Jones is doing in Indianapolis is a tip of the cap to Shane Steichen, but it's also boy, does that not help Joe Schoen and Brian Dable's case. So on top of everything I just talked about of why they had to start Jackson Dart, I think that's a little bit of a part of it too. Because the guy that they couldn't get to do shit for 3 seasons or however long it's been, and the Giants, you get 6 years in New York, or New Jersey, I should say. He wasn't able to do anything. So now here's a guy who looked like, why is he even still in the league? Goes over to Indy, and I get it. It's only 3 weeks, but it is 3 solid weeks. Week 1 was like, okay, week 1's a liar. Week 2 was like, all right, like, Shane Steichen and the boys, they got something going. And week 3, they look good. Daniel Jones looks good. Now, will it last? I don't know. But you can't tell me that it's a coincidence that Daniel Jones goes from putrid in New Jersey to a hero in Indianapolis. Saquon Barkley, who, listen, he was a star as soon as he came in the league, but he was riddled with injuries. He was in an offensive system or an offensive line, that hasn't changed, that was so bad that he wasn't able to have the production he was able to have. And if you don't believe me, what happened? Joe Schoen famously, publicly let him walk to their rival who won a Super Bowl with him, and he had one of the greatest seasons a running back could have in the NFL. Now, I'm not sitting here saying it's Joe Schoen and it's Brian Dable, but what I am saying is that we need to put an emphasis on coaching more than we do. Because think about Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold was putrid in New Jersey. What happens? He leaves. Here's something that people don't talk about. They say, he left. He went to Minnesota, and Kevin O'Connell turned him into a star. That's true. But he made a little pit stop before that, a couple. And one of them was with Kyle Shanahan. With Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco. And Sam Darnold's been on record saying how much Brock Purdy is responsible for his development and learning behind him. Then you say, okay, yeah, you're right. And then he goes to Minnesota. And Kevin O'Connell, I think, is one of my favorite coaches in the league, and we use that QB whisperer thing too much, too freely. He is. And look what he did with Sam Darnold, right? Now, look at a guy like Geno Smith. Same thing. He was awful in New Jersey. I'm sensing there's a Jets thing to this, too. What's going on in New Jersey? He was terrible. And then he goes to Seattle under Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll. See what I'm saying? A great coach. One of the greatest coaches of all time, in my opinion. And he's been phenomenal. Now, he's having a little rough start. He's with Pete Carroll again in Las Vegas with the Raiders. But you still see the flashes there, and it's going to take time. It's not Geno and Pete Carroll still in Seattle. It's Geno and Pete Carroll with a brand new team with leftovers from the other regime. So it's going to take time. But my point is, we need to give credit where credit's due, and we need to point the finger where we need to point the finger. And that is, Joe Schoen and Brian Dable don't look very good for Daniel Jones sucking so bad and now looking like a Pro Bowler. And Pete Carroll, Kyle Shanahan, and Kevin O'Connell don't get enough credit for the development of these guys whose careers were in the graveyard and they've been resurrected. It's absolutely amazing to me. So just a little bit of a tip of the cap to you. I mean, it also makes me wonder how many quarterbacks, like, I don't know, I'll just throw out Jamarcus Russell. How many really good college quarterbacks who actually showed talent in the NFL but were complete busts might not have been busts had they have gone to an organization with stable coaching? Because it's easy to say, and it was easy to say back then, but now you're really seeing it. You're seeing examples, hard biological examples, I guess, for lack of a better term, of specific examples. Geno Smith, Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones, of going from really bad to good or really good. And with that, there's 2 things left I want to say. One, I had a pick on the original Good News York football special. Before we had GNY Sports, I would just do like every now and then a football special. And I made some predictions. And my prediction for Rookie of the Year, I struggled picking Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver for the Bucs, and Travion Henderson, who's the running back for the Patriots, for Offensive Rookie of the Year. I struggled. And I ended up picking Travion because I said, I want to go with my gut. Something's telling me it's going to be Egbuka, and right now it does look that way. It's only 3 weeks in, but my God, does he look good. And that's why I had picked him. I mean, he looked NFL ready from the get-go, and Baker Mayfield is an underrated quarterback. I knew it would be a match made in heaven there. But Travion Henderson, to me, when I was watching draft highlights and coverage and all that stuff, Travion Henderson, just like Igbokwe, looked NFL ready to me and looked a beast. And then sure enough, the preseason game started, and I think he had that kickoff return, and then all of a sudden he was on everybody's radar. I'm just saying that it wasn't obvious to everybody until that moment that, hey, this guy's got some talent. But I knew, and I take pride in that. So far, 3 weeks into the season, the Igbokwe thing looks like I should have went with him. But I think it's Travion time, baby, in week 4. Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson had fumbles, multiple fumbles. Ramondre Stevenson had 2 in one game. So if there ever was a time for the Patriots, who are sitting at 1-2, to unleash the beast in Travion Henderson, it's now. 1, because first of all, it's pretty glaringly obvious how talented this guy is. Number 2, Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson aren't exactly lighting the world on fire. And number 3, I want to be right, goddammit. I want to be right that he could be in the running for Offensive Rookie of the Year. So I hate giving fantasy advice, but I'll give reality advice. If you're the Patriots, start Travion Henderson. Give him the most carries this week. Include him in the passing game, obviously in the running game, and watch what happens. And for fantasy advice, I've had him, and he's done shit for me so far because, again, he's been behind Antonio Gibson and Ramondre Stevenson. But this year, I'm definitely going to keep him in and start him because I think it's Travion time. And with that, I want to do one more thing. I have to show you guys this. Now, I'm a giant Bills fan, okay? And with that means I buy a lot of dumb shit, okay? Danny, can you see this on the screen? Is it blocked?
Move it over a little bit.
This way?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you see it?
See the top.
So, because I'm such a Bills freak and I have a basement full of Bills merchandise, okay, I have friends, and shout out to my friend Christina, who will randomly message me, and my wife hates this, because they'll find something, some sort of Bills item or clothing or memorabilia, and they'll be like, you need to get this. And part of me, part of me wants to say, I can't buy everything, but when shit like this pops up, I have to. For $100, there's a guy named Randy on, message me if you're interested. There's a guy named Randy on Facebook Marketplace, and I'm feeling Randy about it. Forgive me while I old man this. Okay, I am connected. He builds these, and just looking at it right away, I was like, okay, I want it just because look at this thing. It's a speaker that lights up. There's a light on it. It says Bills. Speaker means noise. I love noisy things. What the fuck am I getting myself into? Well, guess what, Bills fans? Bills Mafia, check it out. You're home. You're watching the game. You got some friends over. You know what happens. When the Bills score a touchdown, what happens? You wait till they kick the extra point or go for the 2-point. And when that happens, the stadium, or if you're at your home, we play the shout song. And check this speaker out, baby. And obviously, I'll edit it so that it's a little faster. Here we go.
The Bills make me wanna shout. Kick your heels up and shout. Throw your hands up and shout. Throw your head back and shout. Come on now.
The Bills are making it happen now. So there it is. Randy, Facebook Marketplace, $100. He makes these things. They're absolutely beautiful. It's a Bluetooth speaker that plays the shout song. Who the hell doesn't want that who's a Bills fan? I know what you're thinking. Well, just play it on your phone. Play it on a Bluetooth speaker at your house. Okay, but my Bluetooth speaker doesn't say Bills and doesn't light up. It's awesome. I love Bills fans. I love the Bills, and I love you. It is Mike Brindisi saying goodbye to you on this first episode of GNY Sports. Thank you to my producer, Danny Tripodi, who's the man. Thank you to my boss, Matt Mazer, who wanted me to do this. It was his idea to do a sports show. I don't know if I'm qualified, but I know I love it, and I'm passionate. Again, you can look forward to this once or twice a week. GNY Sports, kind of an arm of Good News York. I'm going to have guests, guest co-hosts, games. At some point, we'll probably go live. We'll do live interactions. But for today, it was just me and you, and I had a great time. So for GNY Sports, it's Mike Brindisi saying, see you next time.